orbital station, Arendor 9 floated silently near the edge of the Black Rift, where entire ships disappeared without leaving a signal behind. Most people on the station avoided talking about the rift because every story connected to it ended in death. Kale Veron spent his nights repairing broken machines and damaged oxygen systems while dreaming about leaving the station forever. Life on Arendor felt cold, empty, and endless. The halls were dark and filled with tired workers who stopped caring about hope a long time ago. That night, Kale was alone inside Sector D repairing a damaged power line when the station lights suddenly flickered red. A warning alarm echoed through the corridor, and the station AI spoke in a calm, lifeless voice. Outer airlock activated. Kale immediately froze because no ships had docked at the station for 11 days. Nobody could survive outside the station without a suit, especially near the Black Rift. Curious and nervous, Kale grabbed his plasma tool and walked toward the loading bay. The closer he moved, the colder the air became. Steam drifted through the metal hallways while emergency lights flashed across the walls. Then the AI spoke again. Unknown biological signature detected. The giant airlock door slowly opened and freezing vapor exploded into the chamber. Kale stepped back in shock. A young girl lay curled against the steel floor, shaking from the cold. She had no suit, no helmet, and no visible injuries. Her silver skin glowed softly beneath the red emergency lights, and strange symbols moved across her neck like living stars. Then her violet eyes opened. She looked terrified. "Please do not let them find me," she whispered weakly. At that exact moment, the entire station violently shook and heavy metallic footsteps echoed somewhere deep inside the darkness. Kale quickly helped the strange girl stand as the emergency alarms continued echoing through the station. Her body felt freezing cold and weak, like she had been drifting through space for days. The red lights above them flashed again and again while distant screams spread across the upper sectors of Arendor 9. Kale looked toward the dark corridor and heard heavy metallic footsteps slowly getting closer. He pulled the girl into a narrow maintenance tunnel beneath the station and sealed the hatch behind them. The tunnel was dark and filled with old pipes leaking steam into the cold air. The girl struggled to breathe as she leaned against the wall trying to stay conscious. "Who are you?" Kale asked quietly. The girl looked at him with fear in her glowing violet eyes. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. Kale shook his head. "That does not explain why you were outside the station without a suit." Before she could answer, the entire tunnel violently shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the lights flickered blue. Kale activated a nearby security screen to see what was happening above them. The monitor filled with static before revealing 3 massive armored figures walking through the station corridors. Their black armor reflected the flashing emergency lights, and their glowing red visors scanned every hallway. Workers ran in panic as one of the figures raised its weapon. A bright white blast exploded across the corridor, and the people vanished instantly without leaving behind blood or bodies. Kale stepped back in horror. "What are those things?" he whispered. Lyra looked down at the floor. "Imperial hunters," she said softly. Then the monitor suddenly distorted again. For one terrifying second, a giant eye appeared inside complete darkness, staring directly at them through the screen. Lyra immediately froze. "It found me," she whispered. At that moment, the station AI voice changed into something cold and unnatural. "Return the girl." Kale grabbed Lyra and rushed deeper into the abandoned sections beneath Arendor 9, while the station alarms continued screaming above them. The maintenance tunnels became colder with every step, and strange sounds echoed through the walls like distant whispers hiding inside the metal. Lyra looked weaker now, and the glowing symbols across her neck pulsed brighter each time the station shook. Finally, Kale stopped in front of a massive, sealed chamber hidden far below the station. Thick frost covered the ancient metal doors, and warning signs from decades earlier still flashed weakly beside the entrance. Kale forced the heavy doors open, and cold air exploded into the tunnel. Inside stood a giant frozen reactor, covered in strange alien markings that stretched across the walls and ceiling. Blue light flickered beneath the ice surrounding the machine. Lyra slowly stepped forward in fear. "This is not a reactor," she whispered. Kale looked confused. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, the frozen machine suddenly activated by itself. The ice cracked apart and glowing symbols ignited across the chamber walls. A giant holographic star map appeared above them, showing thousands of galaxies floating in darkness. Then entire star systems began disappearing one by one, consumed by a spreading black void. Kale stared in horror. "What is this place?" Lyra looked directly at him. "The Black Rift is alive," she said softly. She explained that thousands of years earlier, an ancient civilization opened a gateway while searching for infinite energy. Instead, they awakened something ancient beyond reality itself, a species that consumed worlds and fed on fear and memories. The reactor beneath Arendor 9 was secretly built to seal the gateway forever, and Lyra was the key connected to it. Suddenly, the chamber doors exploded open behind them. 3 Imperial hunters entered through the smoke, holding glowing weapons. Their leader slowly removed its helmet, revealing not a face, but moving black shadows shaped like a skull. "You cannot hide from the rift forever," it whispered. The chamber lights suddenly died, and complete darkness swallowed the reactor room. Kale could barely breathe as a deep sound echoed through the shadows like something massive moving beneath the station itself. The Imperial hunters raised their weapons, but fear spread across their faces for the first time. Then glowing eyes appeared inside the darkness, hundreds of them. The black shadows behind the reactor slowly twisted into a giant shape, larger than a ship. Its body looked like living smoke covered with burning eyes and moving faces trapped inside endless darkness. The air around it bent unnaturally, and metal walls began melting as reality itself started breaking apart. The rift entity had awakened. One of the hunters fired its weapon, but the creature instantly crushed the soldier without touching him. His armor folded inward and disappeared into the darkness. The others tried to escape, but invisible forces dragged them screaming into the shadows. Kale fell to his knees as painful visions flooded his mind. He saw planets burning and entire civilizations erased from existence. He heard billions of voices crying in terror across the galaxy. Lyra stepped forward as the glowing symbols across her body burned brighter than ever before. "It wants me," she whispered. Dark tendrils wrapped around her arms and slowly pulled her toward the reactor gate. Kale looked around desperately, searching for a way to stop it. Then he noticed the emergency reactor controls beside the chamber wall, an overload sequence. If the reactor exploded, the gate would collapse forever, but the entire station would be destroyed. Kale looked at Lyra with tears in his eyes. "There has to be another way," he said. Lyra smiled sadly. "There is not." The rift entity roared, and the chamber began collapsing around them. Kale activated the overload sequence while warning sirens echoed across the station. Then, Lyra pushed him into an escape pod. "Thank you for hearing me knock," she whispered. Moments later, Arendor 9 exploded into a blinding white star, and the darkness inside the rift vanished forever.